Hey, it's Andrew Huang. We are back with another episode. 4 music producers are going to use the same audio material as the starting point for their own original creations. I've got an amazing lineup joining me today. We've got Kilamanzego, Anomalie, and Zomboy. And the sample we chose this time around is from my friend Devan, who created his own kind of live coding generative music sequencer program. It's called Orca. It's completely free. Here is a demo of it that we used as the sample. So that goes on for 1:15. I'll link that video in the description too, but I think you have enough of the flavor, so let's get into the tracks.
First of all, Andrew, thanks for having me on your segment. The second I heard this sample, I knew exactly where I was going with it. It reminded me instantly of Gustaffelstein or Justice. That's the direction I took it straight away. I actually started by making out sidechained white noise, which I actually made from the samples itself. So this is it processed. Pretty average sounding white noise pumping right there, but what it actually is without this is this. Next thing down the line is these, which I believe I made hi-hats without the processing chain. I use this technique all over this track for all my effects. So if it's risers, whooshes, it was all done using the same kind of vocoder technique. I wanted to jump straight into this track. I didn't want to have a long intro or a big build up. I just wanted to kind of get into it. The bulk of the song itself is just made out of these cuts. In the chorus section, I did some more chopping up of the sample to create this kind of background up. Down here, there's a bunch of little chops and cuts, which are all, again, just the little parts, segments chopped up into little pieces and panned around and processed differently. Here we come to where I started making wavetables for Serum out of the sample also. This is as raw as the wavetable can get. Not the cleanest wavetable, but it did the job. This one was quite a cool sound. It kind of reminded me of like an old Skrillex sound. Rather than opening up every single patch, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that each preset was made from a wavetable I extracted from the samples. Once I was kind of happy with all of this, I stemmed this out and went to trusty Logic. Just kind of added some chunky drums. That's me coughing. I don't know why. I just wanted something rhythmic in this gap. But yeah, the last few kind of things I did in Logic were I brought the sample in again. And the final little bit I really added was I felt like I needed a bit more fun stuff happening in the background just to fill out the mix a bit. So I actually, again, brought in a sample and I actually brought it into Alchemy this time. Brought in just this one shot here, put it into granular mode, and then just made a little kind of siren-y synth with it. So yeah, that's what I did with it.
Here we go.
Oh, brutal. Really cool intro.
This is great.
Oh my god. This is so cool.
The fills with those vocals are so fun.
What?
That glitch thing was amazing. I love the break effect that it creates.
This is heavy.
Oh my god, I feel like my brain is melting.
Woo. Holy shit.
All these glitchy fills.
This is absolutely brilliant. The contrast between this section and the previous one. Crazy.
These drums are insane.
Oh, I love that subtle, like more harmonic, the hell chord in the back, while everything else is going on.
Really lovely atmosphere here. Kind of interesting, like almost harmonic, not quite, a little dissonant, whatever that chord is there. Whoa. That was wild.
That was a wild ride, and it had me super hyped.
So cool. Amazing.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Kilamanzego from Philly. Just want to say thank you so much, Andrew, for having me on your show. I really love it, and congrats on 2 mil. This was a little bit challenging for me just because I'm not used to taking one sample and turning it into all these different sounds and instruments, but I learned something from it, and hopefully you do too. If you go to my SoundCloud page, you'll find a small sample pack that contains some of the sounds that I created during this episode, so check it out. So I thought it'd be really fun to mess with samples from some of the previous episodes. So we got the piano. Just put it in FM mode, adjusted to multi-setting, which changes the frequency range, and then I added erosion, EQ, and other distortion. We got the creaky metal door. Just placed the marker where I wanted it, added loop, some reverb, and arpeggiator. We got some vocal bites, and of course the sample from this episode. This was done by Spectral Drone Maker. It stretches it out, makes it real slow if I turned it off. And you can hear that in the intro a little bit, just not as much with all the sounds playing. I just kind of put that in there to fill some space. We also got the sample here. And it's just direct cuts from it with a little bit of reverb added. So everything in the project's from the sample except for some drum taps here and there. And the synth that I added in the beginning called Dex. I love it. And I layered that with the sample that I turned into chords by finding a piece that I thought sounded really good. Went to the pitch envelope, turned it down 24 semitones, messed with the decay and the sustain. And it has a nice tone and glide. Together. And these chopped up pieces below it are just cut up versions of it. And right below that, we have more metallic sounding version of that. And what I did here was I put some of them into complex mode, some of them are in beats mode, some of them have the transients reduced, some of them are pitched up, down. And I added some amp, vocoder, chorus, and delay to it to give it that extra bounce. I also have ARPs scattered throughout. Moving on to the bass section, I usually put multiple basses in my songs. This is kind of a re-sounding bass, and the way that I made it was I took the kick that I made from the sample, looped a sine, and added saturation, erosion, low passed it, more erosion, and chorus to give it a bit of width, and we get... We also got this bass right here, which you hear throughout the song. All I did was I took the sample, I stretched it in grain mode and texture mode. And if I go down in pitch. So I thought that sounded pretty cool. So then I added EQ, kick tight to make it sound a bit fuller, erosion, overdrive, and I just played the lower notes. Thanks for watching that breakdown, and I hope you enjoy the track.
Pretty.
So many little details. Kay's sound design is next level.
Super cute.
Love this sort of like fluty texture. Oh.
Can't help but think it's just so cute. Nice little micro edits.
All of these different textures. This is so cool.
I don't know how she does this stuff. It's like all over the place, but so well constructed.
I like the offbeat feel. Steering away from the generic, simple rhythms.
The sample's pretty twisted. I don't know which part of it is the sample.
Feels like a really well-produced chiptune song.
Love this. Hell yes.
Yeah, love these little glitchy edits. These micro edits are on point.
That's so cool. That was amazing.
I feel like on paper this shouldn't work. Like all the panning, all the real fast notes, like what's happening? But it's great.
That little trill thing that went on earlier feels like the very first like Donkey Kong games with Mario.
Nice use of space. Something I've never mastered.
These held chords are absolutely gorgeous.
It's like if Mario and Luigi took acid.
Damn. Nice work, Kay.
What's up, everyone? My name is Nico, and I produce and perform as Anomalie. I'm really happy that Andrew asked me to do this. I love the series. I'm a fan, and I had a lot of fun coming up with this idea. I started by chopping it up and trying to structure it into a cool progression that I could explore. I thought that was really cool, but I actually ended up keeping it only for the intro, and then some parts of that are still mixed in the whole thing for transitions and stuff. But I decided to give myself a challenge. I was actually inspired by some of Andrew's other videos for this specifically, where I would limit myself as far as like what sounds I could use aside from the drums, percussion, and the piano part that comes in the later section. Everything is made from the sample. So in order to do that, I decided to chop the sample some more and isolate these cool parts. So there's this and this, and then there's this one part that I kept and reversed and automated some frequency shifter on to create like these cool sweeps. I isolated this part of the sample, brought it into this Max for Life granulator, isolated within the granulator a certain part of it, messed around with it and try to figure out what sounded good, and then I can actually play it on the keyboard. I used this patch for the transitions here. I loaded the same part of the sample in Ionosphere, used a granular synthesis feature, and then ran it through a low-pass filter with a filter envelope to make it to a plug. And then I basically just decided to apply that same idea, but to different layers that would have maybe more information in the highs. I'm applying some FM synthesis and then making it into this. And then same idea for the third layer, just bypassing the granular synthesis this time, using the sample as is, doubling it at an octave above it, and then low pass filter with a filter envelope, making it into a much more defined pluck. All three of them stacked together sounds like this. So there's obviously another important element here, it's the sub. And this part of the sample, there's a very clear sub hit, which I isolated and brought into Ableton Sampler here. So I'm using the loop feature with a crossfade to actually get like a sustain note with them playing around with it. And then low pass filter, and then you get... Then there's a leads. Within this instance of the granulator, I just brought the grain value way up, and it gave me something like this. Isolated this note, resampled it, combined with a low pass filter and some reverb and delays. That one lead I basically made like a bunch of little variations to make it into different patches. So there's this one where there's a delay and reverb and it's very bright. There's the drier one, which I then also explored for these chord responses. Layered some drums. This little like drumstick pattern. Mouth percussion. And then all of that together with some cymbals. And then finally, I decided to bring a piano in, which kind of defeated my initial challenge, but I respected it for more than the first half of the song, so I hope it's okay.
Ooh, I love the way this comes in. Take me to church.
You can hear the sample in this one.
Ooh, this is funky.
Swag.
These grooves are so good.
I like the use of the little percussive clip to emphasize the bass notes.
sure if I spotted the sample yet. I'm sure he's twisted it into these synths he's playing.
I love all these vibrato sounds. So good.
Little vibrato chords. Nice.
And all these pauses.
Ooh.
Anomalie is always really strong on melody.
Oh my gosh. This piano.
Hell yeah.
I wish I knew how to play piano this great.
Someone's jazz trained. Bloody nice snare too, if I do say so myself.
The drums are so good too, like really tight.
Sounds like he's using his mouth to make some percussive sounds.
Nice.
Ooh, that was nice.
That was fantastic. I felt like I was watching a live show, honestly.
Alright, I think my breakdown is going to be pretty easy because even though I use the sample a ton, it's pretty much all just chops and a couple of pitch shifts. There were so many really cool sounds in this sample that I didn't feel like I needed to do a lot of mangling of them. I just took parts that I liked and arranged them. The main thing is that I created this really fun chord progression / bass line out of a few chunks. So that right there is really the meat of the composition, and then I would just create some variations on that. Some pitch automations, other little pieces and different ways to chop things. And then another way I use the sample is to take even tinier chops and make those into like claps and snares. That one has some reverb on it. I also took this tone that I kind of added onto some of the claps. And it was just nice to have a slightly more original sounding clap snare, you know, something with a bit of tonality and dirt to it rather than just the... And I think that's actually most of what I did with the sample. So then I augmented that and composed around it. So here are some of the rest of the drums. Man, just by themselves, that sounds like Ace of Base, the sign. Oh, on the intro, I did use other chops of the sample, but I also time stretched them so they went by a lot faster and they have this cool kind of mangled texture to them. There were some moments where I layered up the chords in the sample with some synth chords. So we've got a serum and a phase plant. There's a B section where I've got a different serum patch doing some chords and a different phase plant patch doing a cool kind of lead. Got a sub from Sublab. And then these 4 notes that I played with a live bass just because for one fill I wanted them in there and I feel like you probably would never even notice, but that's what I wanted. Sorry, 5 notes. And then just all of the ear candies, so a little operator, ARP, I do these all the time. Sparkle Mountain. Vocal samples. That was my voice. That's just me like making noises with my mouth and then running them through some effects. This is an online dictionary.
Monster. Yeah.
Fun fact, this last little hey is Dressage, who was on an earlier episode of 4 Producers. That's from her splice pack with more drafts. And then non-vocal ear candy, we got some like swoops and swooshes. Some fun little laser fallers. So yeah, that's basically it. I started by finding chords and notes from the sample that I could compose with, and then just built around that. So, hope you enjoy it.
Ooh, immediately with the groove.
Hell yes.
Everyone loves a good glitch.
Yes.
This is the more the vibe that I went with.
It's like glitchy, scary, funky, groovy. This is absolutely brilliant.
This is so dark. Lasers. Ooh.
This was my favorite part of the sample too. I'm glad he emphasized this part.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Nice art.
Again, I feel like I'm in like a Mario world now.
Love this grimy bass too.
So cool.
Okay, Van Halen.
Monster.
This is so great.
I can imagine this being used as some kind of entrance scene for a badass gag in a movie or badass character in general.
Solo.
Nice film.
What is this?
Dope. Nice.
That was crazy.
Oh, this was amazing. Really well done. Congrats.
And that's today's show. All the tracks are linked in the description. And if you want to learn music production, go to learnmonthly.com/Andrew to sign up for my online class. It's very comprehensive. I walk you through my entire process of creating finished tracks, from coming up with ideas all the way through to mixing and mastering, and every step along the way. So check that out. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you in the next one.